Merry Christmas. Centuries old, those cheery words are still being spoken each December by countless millions of people, some of whom do not even believe in Jesus Christ. Tradition teaches that Jesus was born on December 25th, when it is very cold and sometimes snowy in Bethlehem. We believe the evidence supports the conclusion that Jesus was born in September. Tradition would have us believe that there were 3 wise men and that they came to the manger. The truth is that there were quite a number of those who came from the east and that they came to see Jesus when he was between 18 and 24 months old. In this short video, we cannot fully set forth the many pertinent biblical details, but we will give you the important facts, and we encourage you to pursue this via the avenues of study mentioned here. It is important to note that the actual chronology of events regarding the birth of Christ must be put together from what is recorded in Matthew and Luke. Luke 1, verses 5 to 25, is the record of the angel's announcement to Zechariah that he and his wife Elizabeth would have a son whom they were to call John. Verse 5 contains a little phrase that is one important key to determining that Jesus was born in September, not December. It says that Zechariah belonged to the priestly division of Abijah. A study will show that from the time of David, Jewish priests were organized into 24 courses, named after the heads of the priestly families. These courses of service in the temple started on Nisan 1, which corresponds to March or April on our calendar, and spanned the calendar year. Because the Hebrews used a lunar calendar and we use a solar calendar, Nisan 1 changes on our calendar each year. The course of Abijah was the 8th course, and like each course occurred twice during the year. In 4 BC, the year prior to Christ's birth, the first of those 2 courses took place during the last week of our month of May. Zechariah and Elizabeth were quite elderly and had no children, and the angel gave them the wonderful news that they would have a son to be named John. Verses 23 and 24 tell us that when Zechariah finished his service in the temple, he returned home, which would have been in early June. Upon his return, Elizabeth became pregnant. Verse 26 then says that in her 6th month of pregnancy, December, the angel Gabriel came to Mary to tell her that she was about to become pregnant with the Son of God. 9 months later would have been September. How else do we know that Jesus was not born in the winter? Luke 2 verse 8 speaks about the shepherds near Bethlehem who were in the fields, watching their flocks at night. Shepherds in that region did not keep their sheep out at night during the winter because it was cold and sometimes even snowy. But they did keep them in the fields during the fall, after the end of summer harvest. At that time, the sheep could eat the stalks of grain left over after the harvest, and they would then fertilize the ground prior to the late fall planting. Also, Luke 2 verse 1 says that when Mary was just about to give birth to Jesus, she and Joseph traveled to Bethlehem to fulfill their obligation to be counted in a Roman census. They did not travel in the winter because it would have been much too hard. Rather, people traveled in the fall, between the heat of summer and the cold of winter. And at that time of year, the grain and also some fruit were ripe, and travelers were allowed to eat some of the gleanings as they passed by, Leviticus 23:22. A study of the now computerized data by which we can very accurately determine astronomical events of that time gives us another piece of the puzzle to dating the birth of Christ in September of 3 BC. In particular, the very noticeable celestial activity of Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Regulus the king star, and Venus the queen star, and their various combinations of conjunctions in Leo during the 9 months leading up to Christ's birth, are vital signs to determine the September birth date of Jesus, and we believe that research shows that he was born on September 11th, on which day the sun was in Virgo, as per the prophecy in Revelation 12 verse 1 of a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon beneath her feet. So then how did December 25th come to be the date that most all Christians recognize as the birth date of Christ? We quote from Jesus Christ, our promised seed, in 274 AD. The Romans designated December 25th as the birthday of the Unconquered Sun, being the time when the sun begins noticeably to show an increase in light, resulting in longer daylight hours. By 336 AD, the Church in Rome was adapting this festival, spiritualizing its significance as a reference to Jesus Christ and calling it the Feast of the Nativity of the Son of Righteousness. Attempting to Christianize and incorporate the pagan traditions of antiquity, the Church in Rome adopted this midwinter holiday celebrating the birth of the sun god as one of its own observances, somewhat changing its significance but retaining many customs of the pagan festival. As the Roman Church spread its influence religiously and militarily, this holiday of December 25th became the most popular date in Christendom to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. A special Mass was established for Christ, hence the name Christmas, abbreviated Christmas. What about the three wise men? First, the Bible never says there were three. It says that they brought three gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. In that time, three men with such precious treasure traveling such a great distance, some of it through the land of their country's enemies, would have been easy prey for enemy soldiers or the many robbers who prowled the roads. It is therefore almost certain that they would have traveled in a much larger group with adequate protection. Who were those men who took note of the many astronomical phenomena heralding the birth of Christ in Judea, and then traveled to find him? Scripture calls them Magi, and they were scholarly men from Persia, well versed in astronomy, history, and religion. Matthew 2 verse 11 tells us that they came to the house, not a manger, and saw the child, not a newborn baby. As the NIV Study Bible says regarding that verse, contrary to tradition, the Magi did not visit Jesus at the manger on the night of his birth, as did the shepherds. After King Herod told them he had been born in Bethlehem, they went there and found him as a child in his house. That explains why Herod, who had consulted with the Magi as to the time when they saw the star, determined to kill all the Israeli boys under 2 years old. The evidence shows that Jesus Christ was born in September 3 BC. The local shepherds were the only ones who came to see him at the manger. The Christmas season is a golden opportunity to do just what those shepherds of long ago did: spread the word about Jesus Christ. Now that's something to rejoice about.